We are hours away from the main event. Former President Donald Trump accepting the GOP nomination for the third time. Our Jay O'Brien joins me now. We are in the home stretch, Jay. But I do want to start with Democrats, if that's okay, because we've been talking about this Washington Post reporting. Former President Obama, rather, apparently privately expressing concerns to fellow Democrats about Biden's candidacy. What do you think? I know I've asked you this a number of times as news develops, but is the dam really about to break now on Biden's campaign?
I think that's the interesting question here. So there have been, as we hear a mic check on the stage, by the way, there have been a couple of intervals where we thought maybe the dam had been patched up, and then it had been kind of reopened, reignited. One of them was those comments Nancy Pelosi made on Morning Joe. Remember those, where she kind of left the door open for Biden potentially not running again. And then just yesterday, Adam Schiff comes out, says that he doesn't believe Biden should run again. That also kind of reignites this tension in the party after we had thought maybe Biden had put it to rest a little bit. And now this reporting, as it relates to not just former President Obama, who's a huge figure in the Democratic Party, but also we know from our Jonathan Karl's reporting, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, also expressing different variations of concern, if not outright doubt, that Biden could win in November in private conversations with Biden. That is what the Washington Post reports, that President Obama has privately expressed to allies as well, that he doesn't believe that Biden has a very open path to victory come November. All of that to say, we've been talking about these frontline Democrats, but also just these rank-and-file Democrats who privately believe that Biden can't win in November, who have maybe not publicly expressed him to leave the ticket. With all of these notables in the party, either reportedly or in some cases publicly, coming out and saying Biden should not be the candidate, it gives air cover for those rank-and-file Democrats to come out and for the floodgates to open. But even if the floodgates open, A, Biden will be the nominee unless he chooses to step aside, and B, the open question here is, how big of an impact do these party notables have on Joe Biden? Remember, when all the speculation first started percolating, we were thinking, what does Nancy Pelosi think? What does Chuck Schumer think? What does Barack Obama think? These huge luminaries in the party, what do they think? And will they be able to move Joe Biden from that position? Now, as this story has progressed, we're not even certain that they are going to have tons of sway when it comes to Joe Biden. Certainly not much more sway than his family would.
Yeah, and as we follow, of course, those developments back to just the theme of what the RNC is talking about today, and that's Make America Great Once Again. This is also Trump's first speech since that attempted assassination attempt over the weekend. What do you think we're going to hear tonight?
Well, Trump has said, he's told our Jonathan Karl, again, some John reporting, that he has rewritten the speech, that he is looking to focus on unity. But what kind of unity, we don't know. And that's, frankly, a question that goes out pretty much every day on the floor down there. Everyone down there says they want unity, but when you ask them what do they mean, when they say unity, some people say, well, we mean unity within the Republican Party, bringing those Nikki Haley moderates back into the fold. Some say we want unity across the entire country. We want, reaching out across the aisle. Obviously, the first one is a little bit more common down there on the floor than the second one. But point being is that's a question that Donald Trump has to confront tonight. He has said he wants to talk about unity. What kind of unity is he talking about, Kira?
Yeah, good point. We're all going to be trying to read between the lines, aren't we? Jay, thank you. Let's continue the conversation now with our Washington Bureau Chief and Political Director, Rick Klein. Rick, let's start with you and with the Washington Post reporting on former President Obama now and these concerns that he apparently has expressed about Biden's candidacy. Let's take that reporting plus this new poll showing 65% of Democrats now say that President Biden should actually step aside. 65%. How much longer, Rick, do you think he can hold on?
Yeah, the drumbeat is growing, and I just was texting with a source close to the former president who says that his goal, as always, is to doing what's best for Joe Biden and his legacy, almost speaking in the past tense, although not confirming that he has shared the view that Biden should get out. He has not spoken, I'm told, to Biden in several weeks. But there's no doubt about the way that this has flipped just in the last day or two between top elected officials like Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, They're speaking almost with one voice right now, saying that what's best for the party should be him to step aside. The polling would suggest the same. The question becomes what Biden himself wants to do, because he is the presumptive nominee. The fact that he is now self-isolating in Delaware might give him, frankly, a little bit of a reprieve, because I think there's people that are going to be hesitant to do it while he is ill at all. But I think that this drumbeat will continue. If he does not get out of the race, you're going to start to hear more people through the weekend and into early next week. It has become quite a scene for Democrats, a huge distraction, even as the Republicans have showcased unity here in Milwaukee.